several days later.
A resolution has not been filed, and not filed in a privileged sense. I believe that a president bombing and bringing this country into direct conflict with another nation state without notifying, full notification of Congress, without congressional approval, endangering service members, U.S. military bases, not providing intelligence is reckless. I think that, and we know that this is not a left or right issue. An overwhelming amount of Americans are opposed to the United States being dragged into war. And if we want to talk about serious decisions, I think the serious decision of entering the United States into direct conflict without any legal approval, unconstitutionally, is the grave decision that we need to be talking about right now.
Quote, stupid AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, not to be confused with anyone else. One of the dumbest people in Congress is calling now for my impeachment. When we examine her test scores, we will find out that she's not qualified for office, but nevertheless far more qualified than Crockett, who is a seriously low IQ individual. Or Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country. AOC should be forced to take the cognitive test that I just completed. So go ahead and try impeaching me again. Make my day, unquote.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about the Democrats who are still boo-hoo-whining, crying about President Trump not sharing the information about the Iranian strike with them. And they're now even more upset because the classified briefing that they were supposed to receive about the strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities has been delayed indefinitely, which means that we don't know if Congress is actually going to get the briefing, okay? Again, this comes as they were boo-hoo, whining, and crying about President Trump not telling them about the strike at all. And we all know why President Trump didn't tell them. Well, it's because the Democrat Party is full of treasonous traitors, right, who are anti-American. Again, these are the people whose constituents were ready to wave Iranian flags, right, just in case there was a full-blown war between the United States and Iran, right, which, again, tells you everything you need to know about the current state of the Democrat Party, okay? But yes, these people are still upset. They're still crying about not getting the intelligence that they feel that they're entitled to. Take a look.
What is the administration so afraid of? Why won't they engage with Congress on the critical details, the results of the recent strike, the scope and trajectory of this conflict, the administration's long-term strategy to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, and, of course, the potential risks facing American citizens and our brave service members? Such obstruction undermines the very principles of accountability and oversight that guard our democracy. So, Mr. President, if the press reporting about the impact of last weekend's strikes in Iran is true, and I cannot confirm them, then that might be the reason why the administration postponed our classified briefing today at the very last minute and deprived senators of their right to know what's happening. So I ask again, what is the administration hiding? It's time for answers.
First of all, I want to tell you how outraged I am that it is Wednesday, that they summarily canceled that briefing, which should have been held over the weekend. The Gang of Eight, for those who don't know, the senior members of the committee's national security cleared, everything still have not been briefed. And that's why we started to cause disruption on the floor. And if we don't have a time and place for the briefing today, I think you're going to see some more people demand it. We need to know, why did they? The Constitution requires the president to talk to the Congress, to tell, if you're going to use military, if you're going to attack, if you're looking at going to war, you got to talk to us.
Do you believe that early assessments showing it maybe didn't go as far as the president has said it did drove the decision to delay these briefings?
I don't know. Let me say this. I'm someone who supports
taking action in Iran. So I support that. But this ability this decision that they made to postpone the briefing of Congress is outrageous, right? First of all, they should have made sure they made contact with all the Gang of Eight. Putting that part aside that they didn't do, now they have 2 briefings that they cancel. It's not acceptable.
He wanted to pick a fight with me, little old me, and he's going to lose that. So maybe don't send our country into war when the vast majority of Americans, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, don't want us randomly bombing countries because you're in some type of mood. They're not even briefing Congress. Congress was supposed to have a classified briefing today, and they canceled it last minute. It's giving scrambling. It's giving disorganized. It's giving they are having problems behind the scenes. And by also not even briefing Congress on a bipartisan basis, please understand that this is Trump's war. This is a Republican war. I mean, I think war is bad, like just in general, but don't let them, don't let them.
Life can change in an instant. One moment you're fine, the next, well, everything is different. You're left with questions, with pain, with the feeling that you've been wrong. And the system, well, it feels like it is built against you. This is why you need somebody that's on your side, somebody that understands, somebody that will fight for you. At Morgan & Morgan, they're not just lawyers, they're advocates. They're here to give you a voice when yours feels lost. They've recovered billions for people just like you. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, takes on all types of injury cases from car accidents to medical malpractice. They fight for your rights and the compensation that you deserve if you become their client so that you can focus on healing. They've achieved significant verdicts over the past few months for the victims involved in life-altering car crashes, like out in Florida, a $12 million verdict, which was over 34 times the highest insurance offer. And they work on a contingency fee basis, which means that you don't pay unless you win. It's really that simple, to be honest with you. So you can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/blackconservative, which will be in the description below, right? The link will be in the description below, or you can scan the QR code on the screen with your phone's camera. Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Okay, Democrats are still upset. They're still mad because they feel like they're not getting the information that they're entitled to, right? They're being treated like normal people. They're getting their information from the news, right? CNN apparently is getting more intelligence than the Democrats in Congress at this point, and they're really upset about it, right? So upset that some of the lunatics have decided that they were going to try to impeach President Trump. Now, the establishment Democrats, the more politically savvy ones, knew that this is a bad idea, right? Because, again, for the establishment Democrats, what they want to do is that they want to claim that Trump is Hitler, that he is a fascist, that he is destroying democracy, that he's ignoring court orders, that everything that he's doing is unconstitutional, but they don't actually really want to do anything about it, right? They want a virtue signal, but they don't want to do anything because they know that trying to impeach President Trump is a bad political move, right? Like, it's not the move. And this is why you had some Democrats, again, more senior Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, come out and basically go against AOC and other Democrats, like, for example, the caveman Democrat, Al Green, okay, the missing link. They went against these guys because, again, she knew that this was not a good move.
What do you say to your conference that's calling for impeachment here?
No, that's, that's a big threshold to cross, I would say to them. That don't be, yes, it's probably wrong for the president not to come to Congress, but let's just change that because, again, we can't ignore what is at stake, which is our national security for to make sure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, so what you have here is Nancy Pelosi, who has one foot in the grave and one foot on the banana peel. She knows that what President Trump did was actually the right thing, right? She actually agrees with what he did, and that's why she can't really say that directly, okay? But she can't say that, hey, I don't think we should impeach him over not sharing with us the information before the attack, which, again, he did notify Hakeem Jeffries, who didn't answer the phone, and Chuck Schumer, right? But Nancy Pelosi knows that, yeah, this is not a good thing to do, right? We should not impeach the president over something that we low-key agree with, but we actually can't say it out loud because that would upset our Trump deranged base. Which is why it should be no surprise that when it came time to actually vote on whether or not they were going to let this impeachment move forward in Congress, okay, because, again, the caveman Democrat decided to come out of hibernation in the Smithsonian and to try to impeach the president, Democrats, even some Democrats, voted with Republicans to squash the measure. Take a look.
Let's see. On this vote, the yeas are 344, the nays are 79. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 530, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House calendar number.
Yeah, so what you have here is Democrats voting with Republicans, okay? A significant number of them voting with Republicans to reject this impeachment effort against President Trump, right? Again, this effort was led by AOC, Al Green, the progressives, and Democrats said, nah, we good on this. In fact, they're actually upset about it. They're fuming behind closed doors at the quote-unquote unserious Trump impeachment vote. Let's read here. House Democrats privately vented their fury Tuesday about what they said is a premature and unhelpful vote on impeaching President Trump for his strikes on Iran. Impeachment has dogged Democrats since Trump came back into office, with Tuesday's vote finally forcing them to go on the record after half a year of internal turmoil. The outcome, 128 Democrats sided with House Republicans to block Representative Al Green from bringing a Trump impeachment vote, including most of Democrat leadership. Just 79 House Republicans, mostly progressives and safe districts, stood with Green on trying to force the vote. Yeah, again, this is very telling. It is very telling because if President Trump was as unpopular as these people claim, there would be no political blowback for voting to have him impeached. But again, what you're seeing here is that the Democrats in the Looney Tunes districts, they're the only ones that felt comfortable enough actually voting yes on this, okay? However, okay, you have the other Democrats who are in more swing districts, the leadership, the more savvy political people, they're saying, nah, this is not a good idea, okay? Again, this is kind of a big deal, right? It kind of tells you how Democrats understand that President Trump is actually still pretty popular, even in some of the swing districts. Quote, a completely unserious and selfish move, one House Democrat told Axios on the condition of anonymity to speak candidly about a colleague. Another House Democrat said there's a lot of anger about the vote, adding, quote, I think you heard it from leadership today. They're frustrated. Most people think it's unhelpful, a third House Democrat told Axios. Several lawmakers noted that House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries voted against the resolution, as did House Speaker Emirata Nancy Pelosi. Green forced a sudden vote on impeaching Trump for ordering strikes on nuclear facilities in Iran over the weekend without getting authorization from Congress. The unilateral strikes have been a major source of tension between congressional Democrats and the administration, though only a handful, including Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have said they constitute grounds for impeachment. Yeah, so what you have here are Democrats pissed off. They're pissed off behind closed doors that their progressive colleagues like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Caveman decided to try to force a vote on this impeachment, okay? And you even have some people, like, for example, Chris Cuomo in the media. He's actually pissed off with the stunts of the far left wing of the Democrat Party as well, too, especially in light of the fact that his brother just lost this election to the most radical of the left-wing Democrats, Zohran Mamdani, in New York City, who, you know, AOC is very happy that this guy won, and Cuomo is not happy at all.
The majority is not afraid of migrants, as Trump may like, but they are afraid of these guys, Iranian nationals with jihadist sympathies. You let them in with a laxity that AOC and other radicals insisted on. And the far left is actively embracing people who are the enemy. Pro-Hamas, people who chant globalize the Intifada, the Palestinian uprising characterized by over 130 suicide bombings? Really? And I'm not picking on AOC. I respect her success in developing a following. I just think that she's killing her party. She is a deranged form of Democrat. And I'm pointing her out because she's at the top of the food chain. A recent CNN poll found she's the top Democratic leader who best reflects the core values of the Democratic Party, and this is by Democratic voters. She ranked higher than Harris, Jeffries, Newsom, even Obama. Are you kidding me? She couldn't be less about what made the Democratic Party great, and I get to say that. She is not a real one. I was raised by a real one. Google Mario Cuomo. Google Teddy Kennedy. Google Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Google any of the legends. You know the names. Remember the ideas. Mario Cuomo was a child of immigrants. He was considered less than himself. He would have never allowed a porous border or fake fights and socialistic calls for free everything, especially when there was a real bill to battle for Medicaid and tax breaks for the working class. AOC is popular because extremism drives social media and magnifies minorities. Pissing people off pays off. But radicals keep missing the rational majority. AOC and the radical left are the party of 20% when the country is the other 80%. Only 4% say Iran getting a nuke is not important. Only 18% say that men who identify as women shouldn't play in women's or girls' sports. Only 1 in 3 voters say foreign students who support terrorists should stay here. Only 16% of Americans want deportations to stop. Only 27% of voters support abolishing ICE. And forget about defunding the police or free everything. Everything that she represents is a fringe fascination. And that is what that party has become. And this is a wake-up call. You will not get back to where you want to be by a...
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? Cuomo is upset, right? Rightfully so, because AOC endorsed a candidate that helped beat his disgraced brother, okay? But, hey, that doesn't make his criticisms invalid. I mean, I think his criticisms are pretty accurate in regards to the far left of the Democrat Party pulling the party way too far left. But I think it's too late, right? It's too late for the Democrats to be saved, Cuomo. They are a party of socialists, right? They are a party of extremes. That's the direction that they're headed in. So without further ado, I want to react to the cackling heads chiming in on this exchange of words between President Trump and AOC. So let's get into it.
Observation of him is he really doesn't really like strong women.
Right.
He likes dutiful, obedient women who compliment him, I find. Even back in the day when I used to do jokes about his hair, you know, but every male comedian did jokes about his hair, but he went after me in particular.
And Rosie.
Who?
And Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, Rosie, yeah. He went bananas on Rosie.
Yeah.
So he's not going to like her. He's somehow this type of woman really gets in his kishkis,
Well, he
you know?
projects, too, also, right? He's calling her dumb and unqualified.
Yes. Well,
Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean... But my question here is, are young Democrats like AOC finding the voice that's connecting with people? What do you think?
I think absolutely. You know, I've been saying, you know, people are talking about a resistance, and I think that's a very inactive position. I think you need to be an opposition party at this point in this country. And so I think Democrats are finding their way with these younger voices. We saw it in New York for the new mayor who calls himself a Democratic socialist. You know, he's very progressive. Wow. And he ran on issues that I think Republicans were owning before. He ran on cost of living issues. He zeroed in on essentials such as housing in New York, transportation, free buses in New York, childcare, groceries. Those are things that people are really caring about. Also in the House, we've got the youngest person, I think, am I right?
Maxwell.
Garcia.
Oh, as the chairman of Oversight.
As the chairman of the Oversight Committee. So that also shows that that we're seeing, I think, this sort of new generation of leaders that are unafraid and they're on the offense as opposed to sort of being on the resistance.
You know, I think that Sunny Holston is probably one of the dumbest commentators on television, right, in regards to her political analysis. If her goal is actually to help Democrats win at this point, I'm almost convinced that she maybe doesn't want Democrats to win because, again, she is partly responsible for Kamala Harris losing. Okay, that one question, right, that was a nail in the coffin of Kamala's campaign about what differentiates her from Joe Biden, right? Now she's basically telling Democrats, yeah, embrace socialism, right? You need to be embracing these lunatics in the party, and that's actually not what they should be doing. But, you know, hey, according to her, Democrats should be an opposition party, standing against Trump and not standing for anything else, right, except being against Trump. That's not the direction they should go in if they want to win. But, hey, if they want to go in that direction of socialism and F Trump, it is what it is.
Not always, because a lot of the thoughts they're bringing up are Bernie Sanders ideas, and this is so the number one thing.
He's young at heart, though.
He might be young at heart, but I think it's less about. It might be less about the age and more about the issues they're speaking of, because right now the cost of living in the U.S. has risen by nearly 24% since early 2020. 24% in 5 years, and only 40% of Americans earn enough to afford a minimal quality of life. Almost half of this country can't even have the minimal amount. So I think when you speak to how you're going to help with housing like this man did, and he also said he's going to do something that is so brilliant. He's going to tax the billionaires. He actually said he wants to raise the corporate tax.
Tax the billionaires, right? You know what's so funny? I find it so hilarious how a bunch of millionaires sit around and celebrate and clap for taxing the billionaires, right? Taxing people richer than them, right? Except there's a lot more money to be taxed if these women pay more in taxes, right? Ain't it funny how they work? If these individuals pay more in taxes, okay, to redistribute, right, to people who are poorer than them, I think that the distribution will probably be much larger, right? But it's just funny to me how these people, these socialists, okay, because she is a socialist. Sarah Haynes claims to be independent and a centrist, but she's not. She's clearly a progressive, right? Because, again, only a progressive would tout these type of crazy ideas. But anyways, my point is that it's so funny to me how these people went from tax to millionaires, right? You remember Bernie 2016? Tax the millionaires! Now all of a sudden it's tax the billionaires, right? It's almost as if a lot of these socialists become millionaires pushing socialism, right? And then they realize, hold on. I don't want to pay more taxes, but I still got to keep up the grift, right? So therefore I'm going to advocate to tax people who make more than me. That way I don't have to suffer the consequences of the things that I am advocating for. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, the mom
primary, the Democratic primary one.
He said, I'm going to...
He can't tax them federally. He can do city tax, but they'll move out of New York.
If you raise the corporate tax rate in New York, you're going to kill a lot of businesses that are...
Yeah, but you know what? If the bottom line is billionaires need to stop making tax write-offs and make the country their contribution, and they need to pay their damn taxes. That is yes, but I'm saying that... He said the
Again, everything that she's saying can literally apply to a millionaire. Like, literally, in fact, it actually applies more to millionaires, right? When you talk about the grand total of all the money out there to be taxed, okay? The millionaires like herself, okay? Again, if you're going to advocate for people to pay more, start with yourself first, right? Don't start with the people that make more than you. Start with yourself. But again, it's just funny how these people work, how they operate, right? They sit around and they want to talk about people richer than them and try to make them out to be the enemy when she is a part of the rich. You are a part of the rich. Why are you not advocating for yourself to be taxed? Again, it's funny how that works.
Going to fund his freeze on rents in New York City is by taxing wealthy corporations and a flat tax for the highest.
What about owners who rent in New York City? So if you own property, so a lot of my family were second-generation immigrants. Instead of trusting putting things in the market, they would buy property and they'd invest in real estate. So they may own a separate apartment that they rent out to someone. You freeze that rental property, what does it do to small landlords? It doesn't help, of course, private businesses or big corporations or foreign entities who are buying up real estate in New York. Sure, we got to deal with them, but a lot of people who are owners, if you freeze the rent, they're not going to make their profits back. I'm very nervous about this new mayoral candidate, but I want to broaden this because I don't even live in New York City. Most of our viewers don't. AOC, listen, she is a smart, sharp voice on the left, but I got to say, Donald Trump is dying to have this fight with her because he wants to make her the face of the Democratic Party. Why? Because, well, she's super articulate, smart, and somebody that energizes young people. How many bills has she passed into law? She has a less than 1% success legislative record. Similar to Bernie Sanders, 15 years in the Senate. Now he's more than that. He had less than a 1% record of actually passing legislation. You always need people who are going to kind of get people energized. But what this country needs is solutions and people who can't just talk about them. They can work across the aisle and they can get them done. And to me, AOC is not the answer. I'm very nervous about this potential new mayor here because this city does have real problems and you need somebody with experience. He's had no real job that makes him ready to run one of the biggest economies in New York City, and it makes me nervous.
Well, he's not there yet.
So, so on the AOC Trump thing, I think it is cuckoo crazy, taco loco. If, for Donald Trump, in the middle of military action against Iran, trying to get Iran and Israel to the table in a peace treaty, from Air Force One, as he is en route to a NATO meeting, where he's going to meet with people like Zelensky and other allies and try to be a statesman for the world to see, is picking a Twitter fight like a teenage girl with AOC, who's like...
Ana Navarro makes me sick. I just can't stand this woman. Because at least with Alyssa Ferry Griffin, right? She's actually taking, I wouldn't even call it a conservative position, really. It really is just a common sense position of, socialist ideas are not good ideas, right? Let's talk about how bad socialist ideals are, right? Which is the position that you should be taking if you're the so-called Republican or conservative at the table. But Ana Navarro, again, there's nothing conservative or Republican about her. She's such a Democrat shield, right? That she cannot ever make any real criticisms of progressives, but yet she calls herself a Republican. Okay, I don't understand it. I really don't get it. Why don't you use this time, instead of bitching about Trump, right? Why don't you use this time to actually, call out the fact that the Democrat Party is going too far left? That as a so-called Republican woman, which again, she still claims to be Republican, you're probably not okay with that, right? But she can't do it. She can't do it because she's such a shield for the party. She hates Trump so much that at this point, again, she is quite literally a Republican in name only, right? Like literally a Republican in name only, okay? Because there's nothing Republican about this woman at all, okay? Nothing Republican. So again, what we have here is a little bit of common sense at this table, right? And, for the most part, you have the Looney Tunes agreeing with the Looney Tunes ideas. But my overall point is that, yes, AOC being the leader of the Democrat Party, being the face of the Democrat Party is exactly what President Trump wants, is because if she is the leader of the party, she doesn't have a good record to stand on because she hasn't done a damn thing. And on top of that, her radical ideas are not going to appeal to the broader population, or at least let's hope that her radical ideas don't appeal to the broader population, right? And I think the Democrats rejecting her impeachment effort with Al Green, I think, is a sign that they still believe that President Trump is popular enough in swing districts and in some parts of the country that, this is probably not a good idea, right? It's probably not a good idea to try to make the midterms about impeachment because, like I told you guys, if you want to put Trump on the ballot, that's probably not a good idea, okay? And if you want to radicalize your base into believing that you can impeach the president when you actually can't impeach him, that is not going to end up with a good result, right? But again, these Democrats like AOC, they're not smart enough or savvy enough to understand that. And that's why Democrats are pissed off about their attempt to try to impeach the president because it's just not a good political move at this point. But hey, I hope that the radicals continue to put the Democrats in very uncomfortable situations politically because, again, that just works out in favor of President Trump and the Republicans. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.